So I've been thinking about what I want to do with the front of this car. It's been sort of on my mind quite a bit lately, and I think I've come up with a game plan. What I plan to do is on these frame rails on both sides of the car, there's a bunch of, of course you've got the stock bumper piece here, but I'm going to go ahead and cut all that off. I think it's called the Front Crossmember. There's not a whole lot, there's a few people that have done it, but there's not a whole lot of information out there on it. And my idea is to cut all the material out and then build plates out of 7-gauge steel that I've got. And then I'm gonna take some angle iron back behind on the frame rail themselves and actually weld that angle iron onto the frame rails to bolt this plate up. Now these plates that I have here, the reason I want to bolt them on is so that way I can remove it in case anything ever happens or I need to get inside the frame rails for any reason. I don't know if that's going to happen for sure or not, but it's just something that I like to prepare for. This is going to be what I plan on doing as far as the front end goes. I'll have a piece of Dom tubing that I plan on getting. I don't know what size yet. It just depends probably what they have in stock over at the metals warehouse. I can't, as far as mounting goes, I plan on using some hex hardware that I've got. I've got a bunch of 7/16 hardware, and then I plan on using that. And I plan on pretty much everything I have here in my garage currently. So I've got some angle iron as well that I'm going to use, and I've got, of course, that plate. I don't exactly know if I'll have enough material, but I think I should be good on this. So this is currently where I'm at with the car. Yesterday I came out here and I took out the radiator and some other supports, and I took out my front mount intercooler and moved some wiring around. But as you can see, there's still a lot of material left on this thing, and this is, you can see right here is where the bolts were, where I supported my splitter with the existing supports. I plan on cutting all of this stuff out of here. This is the hole right here for the frame rails. This is where the cap's gonna go over, and this is where the Dom tubing is gonna come out across to both frame rails. It shouldn't be too difficult as far as cutting all this out and making it nice and clean. It's definitely riveted in or spot welded in, and I might try and drill out those spot rivets and see if I can pull it all out without actually having to hack it up real bad with an angle grinder. In the past, I haven't been able to do that, and I've always had to get an angle grinder in it, especially with like for instance, my floor mounted seats. It works though, so I might end up doing that. I don't have a reciprocating saw, so most of it, could have probably been avoided if I had a nice reciprocating saw. And that's pretty much where it's at. supermarket was a no-go. They didn't have any Dom in the size that I need. So I guess I'm gonna have to order some. Yay! Alright, I got a hold of some DOM tubing finally. I gotta go down to I guess a maintenance, BMW or European auto garage, what they call it here locally. He's gonna sell me like 10 foot of it. It's a little bit thinner walled than I wanted, but I can't find the 1.5 inch by 0.120 or 1/8 inch thick Dom anywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and just head down there, and it's like 0.083 inch, so that's like almost 2 millimeters. I think that should be good enough for a bumper bar. We'll see what ends up happening though. Success! Now we gotta figure out how we're gonna bend it up and weld it on. I've got everything pretty well measured out. I've got the frame rails in relation to the bumper skin. This is the inner part of the bumper skin. And I know I have 4.5 inches of clearance between the end of the frame rail and the beginning of the bumper skin. This is actually quite a bit more room than I thought I was gonna have, but it does lead to some issues that I'm gonna have as I start bending this pipe. I've got access to a pipe bender that only has 4.5 inches of clearance between the start and end of a 90-degree angle. So what that means is that I'm going to need 4.5 inches exactly between the start and finish of that to make a 90-degree bend. The issue I'm having with that is that my pipe is 1.5 inches in circumference. So that means that I have to add the radius of that pipe to that 4.5 inches. So I'm looking at like 5.25, I guess. So that's going to put me above this bumper skin, and it's going to interfere. There's some things I can do to work around this, I hope. One would be a compound bend. So say I do like maybe a 30-degree bend here, and then I do another one down the line a bit at maybe like 10 or 15 degrees to try and make sure I stay within that bumper skin. The other thing I can do is cut it at a an increased angle at the mounting plate, and that'll give me, I guess, a radius or a dimension to shoot from and then bend from there. When you start getting into compound bends like that, or chopping at radiuses that you can't really, I'm gonna have to have it in my hands to see how I'm gonna do it. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around how I'm going to actually make that work. So I'm at sort of a standstill with this. I got the bender going, and I've been to 45 and I've been to 90. Now both of these kind of have their disadvantages and advantages. The 90 is kind of tough to get to. With the bender I've got, I'll take some video later, but the bender I have kind of overshoots it a bit and then comes back. And getting this thing completely parallel across the front of the bumper beam is going to be tough. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So from this center section from this end right here to at this bumper skin, this is the inner skin, it's 4.5 inches. On this 90 degree, if I was to cut it right there where the bend started and weld it to the front plate, you could see that it's over the edge. You can't see any red back there. So this means that I'm gonna have to actually bring it down into the kerf of the bend. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just gonna make my welds look kind of ugly. And I don't know if it'll affect strength or not, but it could. Now the 45 has a bit more promise. The 45 I can go in at whatever angle, like if I offshoot this and cut it where I need, of course I'm gonna have to cut it at an angle here to weld to the plate. But it actually fits inside the bumper skin quite nice. This right here, actually, I think it looks better as well. Like I think that it coming down at a gradual angle, then going across and coming back would actually make it look aesthetically more pleasing. As far as it being stronger, I don't really know. I mean, they're both going to be welded to the same place. They're both going to have the same amount of gusseting, so I guess I guess it would depend on if I had a crash or something, which direction I hit it, or I don't really know. I mean, I'm in uncharted territory. All right, it's pretty level. If I go there, check that end, check this end. That one's a little bit up, but that's okay. It's mostly just because this thing's got a slight bevel in it, so it's making it rotate a bit. I've got a few little gaps in it. I mean, of course, this stuff's gonna help me out whenever I start welding it. It's gonna penetrate real nice. I've been having a tough time making sure that this hardware on the inside isn't going to get stuck once I weld it up. I'm probably going to have to cut it off quite a bit shorter, maybe, which is a little annoying. I like to keep things the same length all around if I could, so that way I don't have to like switch up hardware and make sure I have the bolt in the right hole whenever I take it apart. But I mean, it's a small consolation for being my first time ever doing this kind of stuff. It turned out pretty well though. I can't really complain. It's gonna sit nice inside there. I'm gonna test it tomorrow after I tack it up and make sure everything fits nice. And then I'll start thinking about a mounting solution for my splitter supports and things. All right, so as you can see, it's all tacked up and together. Once I get it welded, we'll make sure everything fits right. I got a feeling it's probably gonna torque or twist a little bit over in the plate area, because this stuff isn't exactly, I heard it when I was just putting tacks in it, I heard cracks and pops, so. Hopefully it doesn't torque too much or tweak too much, because then I'll have to figure out some way to tweak it back, and I don't think it's gonna be that easy. This tube, even though it's pretty thin walled, is pretty So with this new Crossmember, not only did I drop some weight, but I was also able to fix my mounting positions for my splitter. Now my splitter is down mounted in, well, 4 positions on the splitter itself, but only 3 on the Crossmember. I'll take off the front end and show you what I'm talking about. So this is what I'm talking about with my new supports. I was able to use some 1/4-inch hardware into the front at a 90-degree angle or perpendicular to the center support. The way the center support works, it's just a knob with a thread shaft and a bent up piece of metal. I can then put the cord over this area right here and adjust its height. So I can go up or down. I have roughly, I'd say 2 inches of travel that I can use for adjustment with the front cables. What that allows me to do is that in the future, if I want to, I can run either more cables off of it that need more adjustment the further out I go, or I can use thinner cable on it and not have to worry so much about trying to make sure the slack's right. And so that's what I've done to try and overcome some of the mounting solutions for the front. As you can see, I've also painted it off in red, which I've already kind of scuffed up quite a bit, but I think it looks pretty good, and overall it's taken me actually probably a good part about 2 weeks, but that includes me having to get a compressor and a bender and figuring out how to use it. There's a lot of first time things on this build. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the build. Please smash that subscribe button, stick around, because I'm always doing stuff like this. Post up a comment. We got a lot of people in there that are usually pretty active. Things have been slowing down quite a bit with the workout here, and I haven't been able to do much racing, but hopefully that'll change here in the next couple of weeks. Stick around.